And then I just broke it down easy into the mind, the body, and the spirit. But how do we actually develop a soulful mind, a soulful body, a soulful spirit? And in each area, there's for an SOUL. And I wanted to make it simple. So the S is for sanctuary, for the mind. That was my very first thought when working with clients was, okay, we need a space for you to relax. It can't be at your office chair and it can't be in a noisy environment. Like we have to find something that's going to actually calm your nervous system down. So we created sanctuary space. And that's when I started to develop this soul system.
Welcome to Her Unshakable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And we did it right this time. Yay! Today, we have a very special guest. Sarah Alysse Bobo is a stress management consultant that helps companies and individuals find solutions to optimize an unparalleled lifestyle. She's the founder and CEO of Live Well, Enhance You, LLC, which formed out of a need for her clients to find balance in their lives. She branched into the corporate market to assist employees in creating out-of-the-box solutions and companies to develop incredible leadership events. She utilizes her BFA musical theater performance background to coach others how to be confident, yay, and understand the connection between brain and body. She is also the host of the Stress Free Solutions podcast. When she's not working, she writes music for her electropop duo, Maybe Soon, and goes out on adventures with her husband and newborn. Okay, first of all, welcome, but that last sentence, caught me. I was like, okay, This is so interesting. So thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. I'm so excited.
So before I ask any other questions, I have to ask about the electro pop duo.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that before we get into the meat.
Yeah. So my best friend Jamie and I went to Columbia College together and we were musical theater majors. And during the pandemic, we decided that we were going to collaborate on music. I've always loved writing. I've done one-woman shows. I've done, small commercial jingles and stuff. But I was like, I really want to write something different. And he had formed this, it was a solo project called Maybe Soon. And he loved to use different art forms and video. And it was just really cool what he was doing. So with his creative endeavors, with the visual, I wanted to help with the audio, and then we combined forces, and Maybe Soon was born into this electro pop duo now. So we have we had a hit that came out this past summer called Silly Me, and you can find it on YouTube. So if you're just looking for a fun jam, just go to YouTube, Silly Me, Maybe Soon.
That's so fun.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's start on your journey. So obviously, stress management, which we all need, and wellness is deeply personal for you. So can you share, because I read up a lot, and can you share how your father's battle with cancer really influenced your path into this field?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Reflecting on it, it's 8.5 years now, and he was my best friend. We were so close. For a girl dad, he would do anything for me. He'd come to every show. He was always there for me. So when he got sick and it happened so quickly, I wanted to do everything I could possibly do for him. And I went to my type A self, which was research everything possible on kidney cancer. But the truth is, cancer is so unpredictable.
Mm.
It could be a month, it could be 3 years, it could be, treatable and livable. But for my dad, it was something that metastasized so quick. There was nothing we really could even do. So it taught me a lot, taught me to enjoy present moments. I also realized that I was similar to my dad and I kept stressing. I didn't know about a lot of stressors that he had until the last few days of his life, where he like shared with me everything, from his family to just work stress, and but also like all the joy too that he had in his life. So that really made me rethink a lot of things in my life after he passed.
So my dad passed away in 2019. He had lung cancer. He wasn't a
Oh,
smoker. And when he was diagnosed, he had stage 4 cancer. And
so crazy.
it's crazy. And, his symptoms were he had a cough. And it really does make you kind of rethink everything. And for me, it made me really want just to do more with my life, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like I do a lot, but it was just made me my husband and I always say that we want to slide into home plate. Like we don't want to leave anything on the table. Really want to try as many things as we can and really enjoy all the moments because you just never know.
Right. Yeah.
So musical theater and fitness. I mean, I
I think
really,
that's so fun.
Thank you.
you have such an interesting background. So
Yeah.
talk about
I,
how those fields converge to kind of create the practice you have today.
yeah. Well, it was interesting because I started at Columbia College just kind of thinking I was going to go to New York, do the standard Broadway, audition, audition, rejection, audition, audition.
Mhm.
And in college, I had two outside jobs to, you know, make rent and everything. And it was Pilates and it was singing. So those two things just started to collide. And then I realized, wow, I could put these to use. So around 2018 was when I really loved both things. And I was like, why not marry the two? And Live Well Enhanced You was born. I started going into companies and doing improv with them. I started, getting them to sing. Like I have a whole program about enriching your soul. And I really teach people to like let your voice be heard, whether you're in front of a bunch of people or just one-on-one meetings. Like it matters, you matter, and we need to also communicate better. So I fell in love with just wellness and speaking as well, communication.
So I'm so interested when you go into a company and you have people sing, like what's their response?
Very apprehensive.
Hmm.
But usually, if I'm the one that starts doing it, then they start to feel more comfortable. So I'll have them do something silly. And I'm actually going to have you guys do this with me. It's more of a vocal warm up, but I have people clasp their hands together and then they'll shake their fists, and then you're going to let your jaw drop and you're going to say ah as low as you feel comfortable going, like a guttural ah. So here we go. One, two.
Uh,
Doesn't that feel good?
It does feel
yeah.
good.
It releases the tension in your
Yeah.
throat, and it also just lets the jaw hang. So anything that you're having from work, if you have TMJ, I have some jaw issues.
Mhm.
So I just do that, and it's like I'm fixed for the day. And so that's what I taught companies to do. That's my first step with them, to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. And then we'll start to do like vocal warm ups, like those sirens, like all those things.
Mhm.
And it just makes them feel silly, of course, but it also opens up their vocal cords and they feel a little more confident. By the end of it, I don't even have to tell them, like I would do with Pilates, like lift your shoulders back
Mhm.
and breathe. They just automatically do it because they're having fun and they don't feel as tight.
I really love that. Like with speaking, we do warm-ups like that all the time, right before you speak. But
Right.
really thinking about it from like the stress standpoint and really a way to relax yourself. And when you're in a group of people, it is kind of hilarious, right? I mean, you just Olivia, I think we're gonna do this like on
Yeah,
every
it's like
episode now.
it's a fun icebreaker. I think it makes everyone more comfortable. I love icebreakers. I think they're so awesome.
Yes. Makes things so much easier. And, if you see your boss doing it, you're going to feel really comfortable doing
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
I wonder how comfortable the boss feels. But yeah, I think that
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting way of kind of approaching things. I love it. I think that's just so
Yeah.
fun.
Thank you.
So you really emphasize the connection between gut health and stress management. I actually have Crohn's, so it's a big aspect of my life too, because anytime I experience stress, I also experience like an increase in my like the badness of my, I don't know the best way to say that, but like, yeah, my
Your
gut health gets
symptoms, your
worse.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So can you elaborate on like how understanding this connection can enhance one's overall like confidence and well-being?
Yeah. So, what I've noticed is when our gut is out of whack, what happens is there's going to be reactions. Like people notice it in their skin, they'll notice it. Maybe that certain foods make them
Hmm.
break out. For me, it's pineapple. And it was such a random thing to discover, but there's like an enzyme in it that really causes me to react. And then if I'm stressed on top of that, and I had a piece of pineapple, I can literally might feel my throat close.
Mm.
So it's amazing how the gut is almost like our second brain. And they say that everywhere in the science journals. And I'm just always amazed because I feel it. And I'm sure you do too. It's like when something is out of whack, you're not able to completely function properly. Like maybe it's you're tired or you're a little bit hangry or just angry in general. Maybe you just feel like low energy. How does it feel usually for you?
Um, I think for me, I like besides like the general pain of it, I get like symptoms in my joints, especially, and then an overall sense of fatigue. I think, and like that affects my like mental state as well. I think I'm just generally harder on myself during like m moments of stress and like moment of poor gut health. And it just kind of ends up being this cycle of like I'm stressed so I'm feeling more sick, and then I'm stressed because I'm more sick, and then I feel more sick because I'm stressed about being sick. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of try to avoid the entire situation as a whole.
Yeah. It can be very challenging, but something that I've noticed that has helped my clients is to basically take a step back and look at where the stress came from. What are you doing every day? Is it something in your morning routine, or maybe it's a coworker or something at school? Like there's
Mhm.
so many little pieces. And with the joint stuff, I've noticed that with my fitness clients, right? When they are in this overwhelming state of fight or flight, they get stuck that they can't even move.
Mhm.
And their joints then get stiff and then they don't work out because they're feeling like crap, but in the meantime while they're feeling like crap and not working out, it's just making the situation worse.
Yeah.
So then everything is getting that connection again and trying to figure out, well, how can I manage my joint pain and my stress pain, but also like not overdo it. And that's
Yeah.
I think where everyone gets into that more fight or flight.
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
And I do too. I mean, I have a lot of gut issues and I've tried so many different things, but when my stomach's off, everything is off, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it just makes me feel bad all around,
Mhm.
mentally, physically, all of it. And so I really do try to focus on what I eat, my probiotics, all those different kinds of things. But I feel it for a lot of people, they don't make that connection that your gut health really can affect so many different things. And I want to say just in the last several years, did I realize and did I really kind of research that more of what an effect it has on everything.
Yeah. Something that may help too, because I know it can be really challenging. Like people will do food journals and then they'll like look at everything they eat, and then that makes them even more stressed out.
Mm.
But something that I've done is a gut feelings journal with my clients where they analyze like after they eat, like what are they feeling like? In the
Mm-hmm.
morning, what are they feeling like? Are they feeling bloated? Are they feeling foggy in the brain? Like at certain points of day, you'll notice that, wow, I'm anxious after every lunch. Why is that? Is it because I'm walking into this meeting and I'm dreading it, or is it something else? So that's also a way to kind of check in with yourself without creating more stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to do the FODMAP diet for a while, and I found that really stressful. I was like,
Yep.
every little thing. And I was like, I don't know if I think I'm making myself worse. Not to
Mm-hmm.
say that it doesn't work for people. Of course it does. But I think like my hyper focus on every little thing was just stressing me out even more.
I feel like a lot of the times, I mean, there's some naturopathic doctors that are absolutely incredible, but there's also some people and fundamental doctors or functional medicine doctors, but there are some people that just focus on the what you should not have. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
is such a disservice. It's like, what can I have? What are the
Mhm.
things that I'm going to have that are going to provide me nourishment versus all the things I can't live without?
Exactly. I think that was probably the hardest part about being diagnosed was, I mean, now I'm like on a great medication and I really, it's more of just like a normal level of careful that like, yeah, probably average person wouldn't have to do, but like someone with a stomach disease does.
Mhm.
But when I first got diagnosed, it was the list of what you could eat was like nothing. And it wasn't stuff that was like actually good for you. And yeah, it was a healing process, but like still, it was like kind of one of the most disheartening things to hear is that like all I had to eat was like carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put her on, we called it the white trash diet. It was like white bread, white rice, and this girl wanted to travel the world just to have soup, like
Yeah.
she's like a foodie.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can have this and this and this. And she was like, that doesn't seem healthy. Like it just made no sense. I get like it was trying to calm it down. I understand. So like nothing spicy, nothing acidic, all those kinds of things. But it went against everything that you would think of in terms of health because, right, flour, rice,
Yep.
and yeah, I mean, but
Gluten, gluten, gluten. Yeah.
yes, luckily that phase is over. So now it's just kind of monitoring the rest of it.
hmm
So I
Well,
want to, oh, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I think that's amazing that you've taken it into your hands too and said, if that wasn't working, then I found someone else that would help me too, because that's a lot of people get in that trap,
Yeah.
you know?
I actually think like on that, a lot of people, I mean, I'm thinking of my cousin actually, they get stuck with the first treatment option, and it usually is a bad treatment option, especially for people that weren't diagnosed with anything in the last like 4 years. And so like my cousin doesn't treat his stomach disease at all, like through that, not through diet, not through like medication, and it's just
Uh-uh.
like hoping kind of. And I think it's really like it's a it's a weird thing because there was such a disconnect between like what you actually need and what doctors were like telling you for a while. And
hmm
like for me, like some people with Crohn's, it's like, yeah, they can't eat anything. But for me, I just like had to do the searching and finding for what I could and like what was actually good for me. And then in turn, like figuring that out kind of just decreased the level of stress in my life, period.
Amazing.
I mean, I think when you're diagnosed with, an autoimmune disease, then it's that in itself is so stressful, right? It
Yeah.
just adds like a whole nother level before you even try to address the disease. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, I have something that I'm going to have the rest of my life. How do I approach this? And especially as a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so enough about you, Liv.
Okay.
So I want to hear about the soul system that you developed as part of your coaching. So can you tell
Yeah.
us more about it and what it entails and how people work with you on that?
Yeah. So I developed it, and I think in part was because I had my podcast, Stress Free Solutions. And then I was just kept on thinking and playing with soul. And a lot of my private clients, we always talked about like, well, what's your soul telling you? You know, again, gut findings. It's everything comes back to like what internally is going on. And then I just broke it down easy into the mind, the body, and the spirit. But how do we actually develop a soulful mind, a soulful body, a soulful spirit? And in each area, there's for an SOUL. And I wanted to make it simple. So the S is for sanctuary, for the mind. That was my very first thought when working with clients was, okay, we need a space for you to relax. Like it can't be at your office chair. It can't be um it can't be at your office chair, and it can't be in a noisy environment. Like we have to find something that's going to actually calm your nervous system down. So we created the sanctuary space, and that's when I started to develop this soul system. So, what you can do with a sanctuary space is you can have something like a candle and you bring it into that space, and it's going to help calm one of your senses down. You could bring music into that space, or you can just focus on your breath, listening to your breath. So, it's for anyone that just is wanting to find a little solace in their life. So that was the very first step for me and for a lot of my clients too. But I had to, again, kind of connecting back to when my father was sick, I started creating these little habits for myself to get my mind to relax my body, you know. So I had to do with body optimizing my fitness and making that a priority so that I could listen to the doctors, be alert. And that was a routine I did basically every day, even if it was just stretching for the day. I had to do it for myself so I could be there for my dad and for my mom in case she didn't hear something the doctor was saying. So
What does your
those
fitness
are like two
routine look
examples.
like? Just out of curiosity.
My fitness routine looks very different now that I have a baby.
Hmm.
A baby
But
changes everything.
she changed everything for me. So I try and get into the one strength training. I actually ended up buying kettlebells on Prime Day. And I was like, you're going to get a 20-pound, a 15-pound, and then two 20-pound dumbbells and just have it in your house. So you have no excuses. I
Mm.
mean, the gym's right across the street from me. I don't really have an excuse. But if your kid is with you 24/7, then what are you going to do? So on her naps, like I'll fit in a 30-minute routine. Otherwise, it looks like Pilates once a week, doing core work, and then strength training right now 2 to 3 times, and then walking. And that's easy because I can walk outside with the baby.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how things change over time. I mean, I've definitely had different things that I've done. I can tell you right now, I'm not doing anything. I need to get my butt in gear, and this is kind of motivation for me because I know I need to be doing stuff. Actually, we have a friend who opened a Pilates studio, and so I said to my husband yesterday, I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna start doing. I'm like one
Feels
of
so
those
good.
people that when I start, I overdo everything. And
Mm,
I need to learn moderation because it just seems that I'm like, nope, I got to finish everything. And
yeah.
it's not the way to do it, obviously.
But I feel you on that. Like, I try and do everything. I have to get my whole to-do list the whole day, get it done so then I can relax the next day. But then you haven't relaxed that entire
Hmm.
day. So then you're stressed for your relaxed day. But yeah, it's interesting. Fitness has changed over time for me in general, I think. Just from when my dad passed, I felt like I was working out so much and just releasing stress from
Mhm.
my body. And then for a couple years after that, I was into cardio workouts. I did a triathlon, not a full blown one, a sprint
Hmm.
triathlon, which is still so challenging for the body. And I was a vegetarian for a while. There's like just so many different iterations of life, and we just have to kind of do whatever our bodies are telling us and listen.
Yeah, I feel like when we do what we need in the moment instead of focusing on what everybody else is doing, or, I was tonight, my youngest daughter she's into this TikTok craze, the cucumber guy. I don't know
Oh
his
my
name.
God. Yeah,
Oh
me
my
too.
God. Okay, yeah. So,
What's the cucumber guy?
ugh,
He just eats whole cucumbers.
but he makes like weird salads with, not weird, but he makes salads with them. Not salads, like he makes like these shakeable bowls, right? So he
They're
cuts up
just
a whole
marinated
cucumber. Yeah.
cucumbers.
I mean, and that's what, so I literally bring this. So she was like, "Can you get me all the ingredients for this?" And I was like, "Okay, this is healthy. Why not?" So, but it was hilarious because she's making it. And I was like, "This is like a salad. We make this almost every night." She's like, "But no,
Yes.
it's different." I was like, "Okay,
Well,
it's
it's because
different
he
because you're
uses
going
the
to,
mandolin.
yeah, well, we don't have a mandolin, but she's like
Oh, well, I took
shaking
your
it up in it.
mandolin.
Yeah, you did take my mandolin. But she's like, it was all about like shaking it up and putting cream cheese in it, which was so weird to me. I was like, she's like, it's so delicious. It tastes like sushi without the fish. I'm like, okay, you say so. But, it's like
So funny.
everything goes in spurts, right? I mean, I'm bringing this
Mhm.
back to the whole fitness thing, the food crazes, it's following what's out there rather than doing like what you actually need to do, which again, I don't mind that she wants to make a cucumber salad. Good for her.
Mhm.
Great.
Right.
Yeah, it was funny to watch it happen. Especially because I think she was like, "Oh, look at me. I'm cooking." I was like, "I don't really consider cutting up cucumbers cooking, but you go for it. You got this."
Yes.
The best part was when she was like, "Okay, what am I supposed to do with the garlic?" She tried to put like the whole garlic clove in there with the like skin on. And I was like, "What have I done wrong here?" Oh, girl, girl, girl. Um, okay, back to regularly planned programming. So I want to really talk more about stress and
Mhm.
especially high achievers with stress and how your work focuses on that and really suggestions for people on a daily basis because obviously we are all under a lot of stress and I think I like to say that a little bit of stress is okay because you know that you're moving forward, but obviously when it gets to that overwhelming piece,
Mm.
it's hard to kind of regroup after that. So tell me like advice that you would give to people that are feeling
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
So kind of going back to that, enrich your soul, the soul system, that piece of spirit, like doing spiritual self-care. And there's just a lot of self-care hacks that people have done for so many years, and it could be even as simple as like going to get a mani-pedi. But I'm like, if
Mhm.
you're not relaxed while you're getting your mani and pedi, like what's the point of
Mm,
self-care? So what I've been trying to get individuals at companies to do is if they're going to have their wellness day and they're just focusing in on that, it's like unplug from everything else and focus on the present and your spiritual self-care. Like what exactly is going to move the needle forward? It's not a bunch of to-dos, it's actually to don'ts. Like I'm going to stop scrolling.
mm,
I'm going to stop doing tasks late at night on the computer. I'm going to tell myself and my boss, like, no, I'll
mm.
get to you in the morning. And it's really hard for people to close that laptop. So that's why we focus in on that spiritual self care piece.
Yeah, I think the setting boundaries is a really hard thing for most people, especially when it comes to your boss, but when it comes to your family as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, across the board, whether it's your kids or your husband or your parents, you
Mhm.
always feel like you have to say yes. Olivia, do you feel like you have to say yes when I ask you to do something?
Yes. This is actually a quite frequent conversation of my therapy is
Oh,
that
good.
I expend a lot of my energy onto like family issues, or I have been up until law school starting. Granted, right now I have no time for anybody else.
Yeah.
And I would do a lot of things like looking back that like my friends would not have done for like their family. And some of it is just like, yeah, I have like an obligation to.
But not because you wanted to?
Sometimes I want to, but sometimes the want is more fueled by the obligation to.
Hmm.
Like, do you think I really want to write an essay for someone else? No, I don't even want to write my own essay.
True point, true point. But if you get paid for tutoring, that's not so bad.
Well, yeah, that's
Not
different. But
writing
like,
an
that's like
essay.
asking if
Yes.
you want to go to your job. No, you probably don't, but you want to make money.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. I guess I need to let you set better boundaries.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
But I
Yeah,
do think
boundaries are
that's,
hard. They're
Yeah.
yeah.
hard though, man. Like there's so many things that can get in the way. And because you don't want to also disappoint. And I think too, there's always different family dynamics. I remember when I was getting into health and wellness coaching for the first time, and they were just sharing, one family dynamic is going to look completely different from another. What if depending on how many kids are in the family or how they were raised. Like it's just so different. And we have to be okay with saying, oh, I loved that part of my childhood, but I also didn't care for this. And that can be very hard because you don't want to like disappoint any relatives or upset anyone.
I think it's like that decision. Which one is more stressful, right? Saying
Mm,
no, I'm not going to help, or actually helping, right? Because
Yeah.
there's different levels of stress there.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think like in all aspects, I'll probably not in terms of family, like not with you guys, but overall, I would say like I'm a people pleaser because if I see other situations like that, like my first result is like, you know what, sometimes it is just easier to
Mm,
go with it, even if it's not something you want to do. It's sometimes harder to say no, which makes like saying no not the appealing option.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
think that can be stress. I mean, saying no a lot of times is more stressful than actually just doing it. And I think that's why we struggle a lot with the idea of letting other people like trying to delegate work, right? Sometimes we're like,
mm,
oh my gosh, I'll just do it myself. It's so much easier.
yep.
But it's not the right way to do it because obviously there's a reason that there's a system in place is for because you can't do everything by yourself.
Hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
But I don't know, in terms of family stuff, it is an interesting dynamic. I mean, with us having six children, right? There's always something going on. There's always these expectations. And especially as a parent, for sure, you never want to disappoint anyone, or you just decide you're going to disappoint everyone. It's kind of like one or the other.
Yeah. Well, came from an only child. I was an only child.
Hmm.
So that was interesting for me when my dad passed because I was just like ride or die. Anything my mom needs, like she could call me 20 times a day. And I just let that happen because I felt like she needed it. But then I realized it was a crutch for her.
Hmm.
And over time, I was like, okay, well, how am I going to set this boundary? Because I've created a different kind of boundary. So it's like then I had to revert the boundary and say, hey, I want to spend time with you, or I want you to be able to call me, but I also need the space. It was so challenging. And yeah, it was interesting just
Hmm.
figuring that out for myself.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also a people pleaser in certain respects. I mean, I've learned how to kind of hold up boundaries, but for some people I really struggle. So, especially my mom's big thing is she wants to when she gets rid of anything, she can't get rid of it. She has to bring it over to our house and give it to me. And like I don't want that.
Hmm.
But I don't have the heart to tell her because she'll say, if you don't want it, then you just get rid of it. I just can't do it. Right. And so for periods of time, we'll have like all kinds of stuff stacked up that she brought over. And it is stressful, right? But it's also stressful to say to her, hey, don't do that. Because
Hmm.
I understand why she's doing it. I understand that it's just really hard for her. So for me, it's just easier to say, it's okay, I'll take care of it. And I don't know if that's really the right answer all the time.
Hmm.
Liv, you?
Um, I mean, I think it depends if you're just like enabling or not. And I mean, but with it's also just it's always easier in some aspects to enable like that instead of setting that hard boundary. Especially, I mean, with grandma, like I don't want to ever say no to her. But I mean, she's your mom. It's different. She's my grandma.
Yeah. I mean, I think you like saying no to me now. I think you didn't before, but I think you easily can say no now.
Oh yeah, I just like because you are also respecting of what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So talking about hard things, Sarah, what's the hardest thing that you've ever done?
Hmm. Hardest thing I've ever done. I'd say most recent is what comes to mind. And it last November, we moved from Chicago um, to Florida, and South Florida, and I lived in Chicago for 17
Mm.
years. I had all my friends there, my career, everything. And I just felt that for our family, we needed to be down here. My mom moved down here. So, you know, it was a hard decision to make, but and especially because Chicago was my home, but I just couldn't see myself in the burbs of Chicago. So it was like, and I've always wanted warmer weather. So we decided down here, and it ended up being honestly the best decision. Like I'm getting a lot more confident, honestly, with myself, I feel, because it took me out of my comfort zone.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's true a lot that when we are in the same situation for so long, right? You don't have to test any boundaries. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think it's always good to put, I mean, you're Olivia right now, you're completely in a new situation. Your
For
sister's
sure.
about to move to Wales, a completely new situation, right?
Hmm.
So it's like getting out of that comfort zone. I think that is such a big way of building confidence because it's trying the things that you haven't tried before. It's really stepping into something that you don't know. And if you're hiding away from it, then
Hmm.
it's hard to build anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that you kind of just have to go straight into it. I think I don't know. It's hard, but I think life is just, unfortunately hard.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think across the board it is.
Olivia, with law school and everything, how was that completely like a 180 for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I went from my senior year spring semester of undergrad, I had class 1 day a week. So I literally did like pretty much nothing to I work 7 days a week now. I probably do minimum 4 hours a day, but usually it's more like 10
Mm,
for 4 hours on like Sundays and 10 normally throughout the day, to be quite honest. But it's not as hard as well, the content's hard, don't get me wrong, but the time management isn't what I thought it would be. I think that what actually really did prepare me was having so much free time my last semester because it really got me thinking about how much time you really have in a day. So it's led me to
Mm.
prioritize wanting my downtime and realizing there's like ways to do that that aren't just, I don't know, it's just, it makes you realize like how much time you waste as well, just like sitting on your phone for that extra hour after school
yeah,
instead of diving into your homework. Well, I could have been done and going to bed an hour earlier. And I'm like a 9 to 10 hours of sleep kind of person. So like I think by prioritizing those things, I've really been able to build like an efficient studying habit and efficient schedule.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's it's fun to watch. I mean, in her in her downtime, she picked up a big hobby, which was crocheting. And
Yeah.
I just love watching kids these days. I know you're not a kid anymore, but kind of still a kid. But just the way it works now, you just watch stuff and you learn how to do it. And I've had friends who have taught themselves to play guitar and learn how to crochet and learn how to knit just by watching stuff and doing
Mm,
incredible things. And I wouldn't have thought about crocheting when I was 21. I wouldn't have considered that as part of what I wanted in my wheelhouse. But I think it's a great self-care habit, and I think it's a great
Can
relaxation.
make my own clothes. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, it's amazing that you know, that you can do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
mm, that is really cool.
Okay. So now that we're closing at the end, I wanted to ask you the final question of what's the best advice a woman in your life has ever given you?
Mm.
It's not the final question, just so you know, Liv. I got one more after
Oh,
that. Don't you worry.
I didn't realize that. Usually it is.
I know.
I remember when I was a little girl, I was in like a theater camp, and basically it's just straight up from a play called Funny Girl Musical. And the director said, make sure that you don't let anyone rain on your parade. And
Hmm.
that for me, just like whenever something would happen, whether I got rejected for a show or something didn't go my way, I would just say to myself, don't let that rain on my parade, because there's something better that's out there for me. And it always reminded me of that. So I think having that director tell me that really helped.
I love that. And I think that's like great advice for everyone that,
Mhm.
there's always something, you're not always going to get the yes, right? And,
Yep.
but there's always something else waiting for you. You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
So my final question,
Mm.
because I didn't ask it
Mhm.
when I was supposed to ask it, I guess. Obviously, her unshakable confidence. So, what does
Mm.
confidence mean to you?
Another great question. Honestly, confidence means to me being able to not only stand up for yourself, but voice your opinion, because your voice matters, and just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable voicing your opinions, because I feel like a lot of the time as women we tend to silence ourselves because society might have taught us that growing up, or maybe there was someone in your life that always tried to
Hmm.
shush you. But what we really need to do is stand up and speak up.
Yeah, I was watching something earlier and I don't remember who it was, but it was like a quick clip of a woman saying that you are born worthy. Don't listen to what anybody else says. You are worthy. You are
Mm,
born worthy. You are still worthy. And I think that it's so important that we remind ourselves of that every day. And I think that also helps build confidence.
yeah,
So, Liv,
100%.
tell me your calendar.
Fear is now a giant cosmic joke, one that, once upon a time in our evolutionary history, was deadly serious and designed to help you survive a wild and dangerous planet. Except you're now trying to survive a meeting or an interview or a date or a career change or saying something you've been meaning to say but somehow can't bring yourself to.
Very interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, just what we were talking about, actually, what you just said about using your voice, how important it is to use your voice. We do have that fight or flight still, even though we're not trying to run away from prehistoric animals,
Hmm.
but it's still in our brain that we have all these negative thoughts, and we really need to kind of refocus and understand the importance of what we do every day.
Yeah, 100.
So tell people where they can find you, where they can find you for coaching, and talk about your podcast, and we'll include everything in the show notes as well.
For sure. You can connect with me on Instagram. That's where I show up probably the most. Sarah Alysse Coaching. And then you can also go to www.livewellenhanceyou.com and make sure that you connect, go to contact us, and just send me a message. You can even just write the word soul, and I'm happy to give you a consult, and we can just talk about what stressors are bothering you currently and just move forward from there. But I'm really, really honored to have spoken to a mother and daughter team. I think it's so kick-ass, guys, that you guys do this with each
Oh,
other.
thank you.
Like, it's so brilliant. This is the first interview I've done with a mom-daughter duo, and I just think it's fabulous. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thanks for being here today. We really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. And yeah, it's a fun thing. Like, it's kind of nice that we get to do this together. And well, I guess I should say I'm happy that she wants to do this, right?
Oh,
It's this
that was
this
so
one
sweet.
this is not an obligation. This is a choice. So, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us on Her Unshakable Confidence. Please share this episode, like it, leave a review, all of the things. And always remember that you are unshakable. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.